video in parts after I get when it finalizes everything for the video. But this is my spoiler review for Black Panther Wakanda Forever. I waited this long to give my review and my thoughts. I've held back everything, but now we're about to get into it. So yes, also I'm gonna be giving my review first for the next 10 minutes for TikTok, and then I will open the door for you guys to bring in your thoughts. Tell me what you thought about the film, and then I'll be answering the questions and whatnot later on. So let's get into it. Let me sip my water for this. I pulled up the cast so I can remember everybody when I talk about them. All right, so going into the film, well, let me catch you up a little bit. All right, so before I went into the spoiler review, I listened to everyone's review, everyone that I could hear, listen to, read all the reviews from Twitter, YouTube, TikTok, and I heard different perspectives. Some people that didn't like Namor, people that loved Namor, people that didn't like the film, people that did like the film. For me, I tried to hold in what I wanted to say so I could get everyone's perspective on the film, because I feel like there could have been some information that I didn't understand from somebody that's a content creator that was represented in this film that I didn't maybe understand going into the film. So I saw the film twice, and so my first experience for this film, I literally, sorry, something called me up. So I was making a spoiler review for this film, and I immediately was having a hard time making the review because this film alone really was impactful. I think it's the most impactful MCU film of all time. I'm talking from phase 1 up to now. I think it's the most impactful MCU film of all time, and I stand by that. Or at least for me personally. First of all, I got the whole cast list here, so I don't forget anybody here. Angela Bassett, bro, she needs a freaking Oscar. What's up, Rumor Mill? I'm gonna try to stay on topic with the spoiler review. I'll answer questions later on. So yeah, Angela Bassett, man, she needs an Oscar. I mean, not just nominated, I want her to win. But also, I feel like Alicia Wright also deserves an Oscar for this film. Okay, so let's go into the actual review for this film before I get lost track here. I really love this film, man. Okay, so Alicia Wright, sure, is probably my favorite character out of this whole film, because as someone that has been dealing with a lot of, grief and, the darkness with grieving, and also trying to move on and trying to make peace with grief and losing people that you love that were a big impact on your life. And I've heard a lot of people say that they didn't like how they handled Black Panther, well, T'Challa's character's death. Honestly, me personally, I think it was probably the only way to go about it respectfully, because if they were to go and try to bring an angle in, how did he get sick? How did he become to this? Because, people will say, well, what about the herb? What did the herb? The herb should have cured him, or at least kept him strong and powerful. There's no way, no sickness or illness could have made him sick. And some people had a problem with that because it didn't explain why he was affected, even though he had the herb in his system. Which, we'll go back to that, by the way, for the end of this film. I think, first of all, let's talk about the anti-hero in this film, antagonist, Namor. The Talakans I loved in this film. I love how they handled the Talakans. I love how they handled Namor. Honestly, I think there's a lot of Thanos and Namor kind of go into each other a little bit, because if you look at Thanos, the Thanos from the comics is more of I'm the Mad Titan. He's more egotistic, and so is Namor in the comics. And so in this film, he's more mellow, but more focused on what he believes in, where he stands. He is going to protect his country, he's going to protect his home, and he's willing to do whatever is necessary to do so. And with that being said, and that kind of goes to like what Thanos was like. He wasn't like he was in his comic book counterparts. He was more, he wanted to save humanity in his own right, sick way. And same for Namor. He had his own vision. He feels like the whole world around the Talocans was a danger to his home. So he feels like he has to rise his nation up to go against the world, which is kind of like what Thanos had originally for his ideas and what he went about. He thought what he was doing was the right path. Same for Namor. So I like that perspective, and I like how they gave that to Namor. They could have easily just made him like he was in the comics, very egotistic, and I feel like that would have lost me a little bit. But besides that, let's talk about Ironheart. So I've heard a lot of people say that it's either you liked her in this film or you didn't like her in this film. Me personally, I loved Ironheart in this film. I didn't like I think it was the Armor 2. What's up, Soups? Yo, Soups is in my live right now. The GOAT is in my live stream right. I'm sorry, I was trying to stay focused on this, but Soup just like, what's up, Soups? Yo, that's crazy. I'm like literally, okay. Ironheart. Let's get back to it. Thank you, man. I appreciate that. I loved Ironheart. I didn't really like the Mark II suit, or really the suits that she used in the film. But I think let me say this. It did its job to get me hyped up for Ironheart series. And that's the thing with this film. I had a little Iron Man 2 feel a little bit about it, where they were kind of setting up a lot. A lot of world building was in this film. But see, when I say Iron Man 2 kind of did it in a way where it felt like it was like a gun show for Iron Man 2, for the MCU going forward. For this film, Wakanda Forever, they were building up and setting up a lot for, the Thunderbolts, Armor Wars, but I felt like they did it in a way where it served the story. But I mean, there's points in this film where it kind of slows that down a bit and it loses its way, but but they still keep the story on the right path. But yeah, man. Also, the score of this film, if you know me very well, I love when a movie can deliver on the score. I think the score is very perfect and important for the film. If the score is not right for the film, it just doesn't work for the film for me. And I felt like the score, again, did its job. It did its job for Black Panther. I think this is the same music producer or composer that did also The Mandalorian, all the Creed films, and of course, Black Panther, the original one. So let's talk about the Talocans for a second. I feel like the Talocans, when it comes to them, I feel like Namor was cool and all, but I feel like Thanos was the main front bad guy, but I felt like his I can't remember their names right now, but his little disciples that went after the Infinity Stones, I felt like they weren't given enough screen time and a little bit more depth. They were kind of like the bad guys, we're here to help our main guy really progress the story. And I felt like that was the same thing for the Talocans. Like, for instance, Atuma. Atuma is like a very primary villain for Namor. And in this film, they kind of make him, which is cool, as a more falling in line to Namor, but in the comics, it was kind of different. But again, this is what I'll say. Comic accuracy is cool and all, but if it hurts the film, I think it has no place in the film. But yeah, Everett Ross, I loved Martin Freeman. He's the dude. He's awesome. I'm glad they brought him back. Oh, speaking of the Talocans, that whole fight scene between the Talocans and Okoye on the bridge was freaking beautiful. I loved that. I was waiting for that fight scene. Also, speaking of the Talocans, I think so the biggest part of this film was the Talocans. I really like how they went to brought in this Mayan culture into this film and kind of educating us a bit about it. And also, like, the whole scene with, Shuri and Namor, kind of just Namor showing Shuri like all the Talocan, I can't remember the actual name. I'm just going to say Talocan for now, but just showing his